What is up, dudes and lady dudes? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are talking about Ancient Guardians. We have the entire set revealed, at least as far as the new cards are concerned. Not necessarily reprints for the TCG version, but that's not as important. Snake Ring would be nice, but other than that, I don't think anything's super necessary. So today I want to talk about all three of the archetypes together in conjunction and how they kind of compare and contrast, like which one's the best one, which one's the worst one, which one's not either of those. And kind of, we talked about them here and there as we've looked at their new support, but we haven't really put them all next to each other side by side and said, this one's the best one, this one's the next best one, this one's the worst, anything like that. So I guess we might as well start off with the first one, right? We have Ursarctics. They were the first ones revealed. Let's get this guy. Boom, good enough. All right. Really, really cool archetype where like it has a bunch of like monsters that have like quick effects from hand, where they can tribute any level 7 or higher monster in hand to summon themselves, and then they can get an additional effect, which is really cool. I mean, you have one that just like searches a card, so it immediately replaces the card. This is it. Really good. The one thing I wonder about this archetype is because all the monsters have to tribute something to get on field, it seems like hand advantage could be really, really tough for this deck to maintain. So you'd have to play like very good cards that like, oh, maybe when they're sent from hand to graveyard or something. I don't know. Anything that floats potentially would be really cool. Just any other cards you can combine with it that float, that once you tribute them, you can get an additional resource back. That would be interesting, but I'm not sure off the top of my head exactly what that could entail, but okay. And they have some cool hand trap-esque effects. I mean, they even actually have the potential to, via their own engine in archetype cards, I believe like they have the potential to like Book of Moon your opponent, even on their turn 0 compared to you, which is actually really cool. So the deck has a lot of cool things, but I do wonder, it does seem like it doesn't have a ton of versatility in what it can do. It kind of seems like it does that same strategy. So if that one strategy isn't really getting it done or isn't enough in a certain matchup, right? Maybe it's just not particularly great. It may fall short. So I'm curious to really see where this goes. This one, I think overall has like the most wiggle room, right? Like sometimes we see these archetypes and we're like, okay, I don't think it's amazing, but I do think it has potential. And then they're either like really good or like really bad. I do think this one has the most like variance on like how it could end up being. But I think it's okay. I don't think it's amazing right now. Obviously, I don't have to say this, but we're going to see what ends up coming out as future support for these decks. I mean, keep in mind, Spirals were garbage until they got, not Master Plan, Double Helix. And so once they got Double Helix, they were immediately the best deck in the game, tier 0 bananas. So keep that in mind. All it takes is one card. But very, very cool. Next up, we have our second archetype, which is our, hold on, let me get a picture. Sure, this one works. Is Abyss, okay? Abyss is really, really cool. This one is my personal favorite, but I also think out the gate, I think it actually has the most potential to be like something competitive. Now, I don't think any of these really strike me as, oh, potential tier 1, potential immediate meta threat. I do, however, think Abyss has the best chance of immediately being like a rogue deck, whether it's a Lair of Darkness variant or whatever, or a Chaos variant people have like theorized, because the deck is all lights and darks, and they have synergy in Graves, which is really cool. I'm not too sure on that, but I do think there's a ton of potential, of course. It's just one of those decks that like everything has an effect in Grave, so yeah, like if you can just load up your grave, you're going to have extra effects. None of the monsters like banish themselves except for I think 1, maybe 2 of them, which is also really strong, which means you use them, link them off, exceed them off, whatever, and then they're just engraved to use again next turn. So the grind ability seems pretty strong there. Definitely you got to wonder on how consistency is with a deck like this, because you have a decent amount of cards that aren't good in hand at all, but they're great in Grave. So like how consistently are you drawing good hands without bricking on too many of the monsters you want in Grave and not in hand at all? That's another question you might have as well. So definitely keep an eye on that. I think this one has the highest potential. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know, but this is my favorite one. But I really do think Lair of Darkness Abyss is like better than Ursarctic or Doremi Chord. I guess technically you could argue Doremi Chord can just be splashed with like other amazing like pendulum cards, and that might just be better than Abyss. But you know, how is that really a Doremi Chord deck? I don't know. But I really think Abyss just has so many strong qualities. You've got the ability to make rank 8s, rank 4s. You've got insanely powerful cards like Snake Rain that just gets you so much value, not once per turn, by the way. If you go Snake Rain, get Ash Blossomed, and then you just have a second Snake Rain, yes, you might have had to use 4 cards in hand, but I believe Snake Rain by itself is like actually pretty good combo. So you'd be like playing through an Ash and going pretty full combo, which is kind of just insane. So I really love the deck, and I really think it has the biggest potential here overall. I don't know. We've just been seeing like graveyard deck after graveyard deck after graveyard deck do well in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think this is no exception. And lastly, we have the Doremi Chords, the most recently revealed. Do I have any cards here? Oh, there we go. There we go. This is what I need. Okay. Doremi Chord. The new Pendulum archetype. It's kind of interesting. They don't have the most amazing cards. They do have a couple of interesting disruptive cards, which is really cool. But they do rely on you. Most of them do rely on you having specifically like the right kind of scales. I believe it's exactly, you need Do-Re-Mi chord scales. Oh no, maybe it is generic. Okay, so if it's generic, that actually is pretty good, because there's like the one that like you can target a card your opponent controls as a quick effect, and when it leaves the field, it's banished instead. That's actually not terrible, especially if it's any card. I can't remember if it's card or monster, because that means your opponent could even like activate a spell, and you could chain it till there's like target the spell, and then it'd like be banished. So like versus Shadal's, if they activate like Shadal Fusion, right? They can resolve the Shadal Fusion, but it will be banished immediately, which means if they make Construct, they and link it off, they'll have no Fusion engrave to add back, which is really nice. So there's like weird matchups or there's weird situations like that. Maybe generically a couple of the cards come up, because that's just how pendulums work. We have so many different little pendulum archetypes or cores or engines that can all combine and make like an amalgamation, a really powerful just combination, and that's pretty good. So you got to wonder about that, how the combinations would go. But as far as a pure deck goes, this deck just isn't strong enough. There's no win condition here in my eyes. I mean, maybe there are win conditions, but they're just not very strong for 2020 standards. Like Koiria gives you the ability to pop a monster when it activates its effects, but not negate it as a quick effect. It can negate stuff slowly, but not as a quick effect. It only just destroys, which is meh. You have the other disruption, like I said, that can just target something, and when it leaves the field, it's banished. Fine. It's not amazing, but it's fine. You'd rather just have a blanket like floodgate effect like Shen that just says everything is getting banished. And I think you also have a trap that's like a Dryden, right? Like pop a card, which is, again, okay, but that can't be your best disruption. And that's honestly better than the other two. So I don't really know how this deck like wins games relative to like the power level that so many decks have in Yu-Gi-Oh! The amount of disruptions, the ability that all these decks have to play through disruptions. I don't think this deck can keep up at the moment. And until we get like a legit like Flames like win condition for this deck, I don't really see it here. But of course, like I said, you always have to keep in mind just that pendulum factor, right? Maybe we'll just see Do-Re-Mi chord engines splashed in with whatever other engines just because, and people will go ham that way. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, this is definitely another one that could go here or there, but I think for the most part it seems a little underwhelming. So that is really my main assessment for everything here. I would say Abyss comes first as far as the most potential competitively, then Ursarctic. Maybe I'm biased, but also keep in mind Ursarctic could be one of those archetypes that like Adamantipator. We saw Adamantipator, we were like, oh, okay, it's like the next version of Light Swarms. Like, it's cool, but like it relies too much on RNG. Turns out if you build your deck the right way, it doesn't rely on RNG at all. Now this isn't that exact same situation, but this could be one of those decks where you're like, it's interesting, but I don't know if it has it if it's quite there yet until maybe you build it the right way. You build some generic cards people haven't been thinking of that already exist, and maybe the archetype goes places from there. Who knows? And then, of course, Doremi Chord. Like I said, they're just a little underwhelming in everything. They don't particularly seem to be good at playing through disruptions. They don't seem to be particularly good at setting up disruptions. So I'm like, what are we doing here? What's the point of this? But maybe it'll just take one card and the deck is just amazing. Who knows? But that's going to do it for me here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below, please, which one of these, give me your order. Just give me 1, 2, 3, and maybe just a quick sentence saying why first place is first place, or just explaining your order in general. But yeah, I'm going to say Abyss 1, Ursarctic 2, Doremi Chord 3. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if I'm a fool. Let me know if I'm right. Definitely want to hear you guys' thoughts on these, because I do like them all in one way or another, but we'll have to see. We got to see support. Hopefully they all get nice support going forward as well, and can continue to climb up. But that's going to do it for me there. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, subscribe if you want to see more stuff from me in the future, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.